Hey there, Jackets fans, and welcome to Boom and Gloom, where we talk about the good, the boom, and the bad, the gloom of Columbus Blue Jackets hockey. I am your host, Anthony, also known as Whaler Jacket on social media platforms, and I am Ohio's longest suffering hockey fan. Please take a listen to some of my earlier episodes if you are new here and are wondering why I call myself that. But it is so nice to be talking to you right now. It is early July, and it is, the heart of summer right now, and we have lots of hockey news to talk about. So, another summer podcast episode coming at you today. Lots of Blue Jackets news to discuss. Kind of a small storm of Blue Jackets news that has hit in the past week or so. So let's get right to it. Still no head coach for the Blue Jackets. According to Aaron Portzline, that is going to change quickly. He mentioned that the Jackets plan to have a new head coach, of course, in place within a week. And I read that yesterday. So in 6 days from now, around there will most likely be a new bench boss in place. In fact, the way my luck goes, I would not be surprised if the Jackets have a new coach in place within an hour of me posting this episode. So if you're listening to this, the Blue Jackets may already have a head coach, because that's just how my luck works. But as of this second, they do not have a head coach. They have the only open head coaching position in the league. So who's it going to be? No one knows yet. Joel Quenneville is now free to pursue another job in the NHL. However, thankfully, it was reported by Mark, I can never say his name right, Mark Scheig. He reported that the Jackets do not consider him as a candidate. Can you believe the absolute crap show that would cause if Quenneville was selected as the head coach after what happened with Babcock last summer? Even if Quenneville was a candidate, even if he was interviewed, I just can't imagine the crap storm that we would see. So thankfully, it appears the Jackets are being very smart about this and staying clear of him. So that leaves the same candidates that we've been hearing. The Todd McClellan, Dean Evison, Gerard Gallant, a few others. Now, I believe it was Aaron Portzline who reported that Gerard Gallant was not being considered. So he is not even getting an interview from what I've heard. My money is on McClellan or Evison, but I would also not be surprised if, a dark horse candidate, came along and got the job. Someone that Don Waddell really likes and we haven't really been told about, been given any hints or information about. Man, I still can't believe Don Waddell is the GM. I was so certain that the Jackets would end up with an up-and-comer like Matthew Darche. So I'm just still in a bit of disbelief. Here we are weeks later from the hiring, and I'm still just a little disbelief that Don Waddell is the general manager of the Blue Jackets. All right, anyway, on to my next segment, the draft. The 2024 NHL draft is over, and it is very clear the direction that Don Waddell was taking. It was all about size. Now, I don't have the list in front of me, but I believe the Jackets did not take a single player shorter than 6'1". Now, this is something that has been bothering me about Jackets prospects. All right, I've talked about this in previous episodes. Size. In recent years, under then GM Jarmo Kekalainen, the Jackets have focused on skill. And to do so, what they sacrificed was size. Now, there are plenty of outliers and exceptions, of course. Adam Fantilli, he's a big dude. David Jiricek, he's a big dude. And those are just two examples from recent years. But then you had the Luca Pinellis, the Gavin Brinleys, William Whitelaws, the Jordan Dumays, the James Malatestas. You add those guys to a mix that already featured plenty of smaller players, like Johnny Gaudreau, Justin Danforth, Trey Fix-Wolansky, Kent Johnson, even Nick Blankenberg, who is no longer with the team now. But we had some smaller guys. The Jackets needed size. They needed some bigger guys. And it was like Don Waddell heard me, because that's exactly what he did. All tall players, every one of them. Now, I'm not going to go into too much analysis of the Jackets draft, all right? But I will talk about their first pick at number 4 overall. And that, of course, was a young man by the name of Caden Lindstrom. I like the pick. I really like the pick. This was a guy who was rumored to be on the Jackets' radar for some time. Now, they could have landed that other guy. Forget how to say his name. Demidov. Could have had him. They had their choice at the 4th overall pick. But Waddell has stated that Lindstrom was the guy they wanted if they couldn't have Celebrini. Like, he was their number 1 choice after Celebrini all along. Like I said, I like the pick. The dude has size, skill, and supposedly he has a mean streak. Snarl is something I think the Jackets have been sorely lacking. Okay, there aren't too many players right now on the roster who I would say have that snarl to them. So I'm happy we drafted a guy capable of bringing that to the lineup. Of course, the selection did bring about the expected arguments on social media. Those against the decision to take Lindstrom, they cited basically 2 reasons. All right, one was the fact that they just preferred Demidov. I really don't remember how to say his name. Okay, they preferred him. Demidov was or is considered a huge scoring threat. Someone who, just has amazing offensive skills. And I think a lot of people were infatuated with that. But the other revolves around Lindstrom's health. Okay, he has had some back issues. Fairly significant back issues, from what I've read, coming from an injury. And I don't remember exactly what they were, something about vertebrae, fused or broken vertebrae, something like that. But for me, I'm just going to trust the doctors here. And I'm going to trust, and I know that's hard to believe because we are talking about the Jackets here, but I'm going to trust that the Jackets did their due diligence and their research and their discussion with all the doctors, and that he will be good to go with his career, okay? And I get it. For every Jack Eichel, there's a Nathan Horton, okay? So there's no guarantees that this young man is going to overcome these injuries and have a long, prosperous career. I get that. But for me, the positives just outweigh the negatives. And I'm happy with this selection. Now, as I'm recording this, I have seen some video today of Lindstrom on the ice for the Jackets development camp. And the drills that I have seen, I've just seen a couple. He's looked very good. He seems like a big, strong, powerful skater. But I did read that they will be holding him out of any type of contact drills, and that includes a scrimmage that they're having. So I do applaud the Jackets for that. They are letting him take the necessary time that he might need to completely heal. So, and then of course, I believe they're going to let the kid develop slowly. Okay, they're gonna they expect him to play for his junior team this year, so they're not going to rush him to the Jackets lineup. And one of the reasons for that will be something that I'll be talking about here in a second. So we'll see. Caden Lindstrom, welcome to the Jackets, and let's hope that this is a pick that ends up paying off for the Jackets. Moving on. Free agency. Free agency has started, and the Jackets were quick to snatch up a player they wanted, which was Sean Monahan. As of this moment, again, that I'm recording here, that has been their only significant free agent signing. And again, the signing of Monahan was met with both supporters and detractors. Makes me wonder, has there ever been a universally loved free agent signing for this team? Johnny Gaudreau, maybe? I don't know. It just always seems like you always have the people who love it and the people who hate it. Those against the signing brought up his age with regard to the extent of his contract. Like it's a 5-year deal, so Monahan will be 34, I think, at the end of it. I think his birthday's October 12th, so he'll be turning 30 October 12th. They were also concerned with the overall price tag of the contract, $5 million per season. Some are saying that is just too much money for him. And others state that the fact that he is a center is actually a problem. Some are saying that we already have Fantilli, Sillinger, Voronkov, Kuraly, and now we have Lindstrom. So you throw Monahan in there, and you start to lose development time for those young guns, especially Lindstrom when he's ready. So I had to think about this one. All right, I really did. I had to think. Do I like this signing? And I've decided that I do. I do like the signing of Sean Monahan. So first, let me go back to the 3 reasons people are saying they don't like the signing. Okay? So as for term, yeah. All right, he will be 34 at the end of his contract. And once you get up to mid-30s, that's when you start seeing players coming to the end of their careers. But this is one of the things I believe the Jackets have needed. Veteran presence. The Jackets need players with experience. They need players to help guide the youth movement that we're seeing right now. I almost think you have to have someone in their mid-30s on the roster. It makes me wonder, has there ever been a Stanley Cup winning team without some older players, like mid-30s or later? I seriously doubt there has been. It is a necessary component almost that you have veteran leadership, people who have done it before, people who can lead by example. The heart and soul players. Usually they're your older bunch. A lot of times they're called wily vets. You got to have the wily vets on your roster for there to be success. So I'm happy in that regard. As for the money, I'm just going to say it bluntly. Get over it. If you're upset about the money, get over it. As much as I hate that it's true, Columbus isn't exactly the number one destination for free agents. It's just the way it is right now. All right? I mean, I love Columbus as much as the rest of you. But until we start winning consistently, our city's awesomeness is going to remain a bit of a secret. So sometimes, or maybe even a lot of times, we have to pay a bit more than the other teams to get the players we want to come here. Okay, and I think that's going to change over time. Once the Jackets start throwing together, winning seasons consistently and having playoff success, you know what? People are going to want to start coming to Columbus to play. Plus, it's certainly not unheard of for teams to overpay at the start of free agency. It happens just about every year. Teams overpay. It's part of it. I'm just glad it's not a huge overpayment. Finally, the fact that he is a center, that doesn't bother me at all. There are players like Sillinger or Voronkov who could play on the wing. You could move them to the wing. There's nothing set in stone that says they have to play center. And heck, there is no guarantee that those guys are going to even reach the potential that we hope they have. I mean, I certainly hope they will, like all fans. But if they don't, then you have other options. And if they do, great. Okay, someone else can be moved out via trade. Even Monahan. I mean, if I read it correctly, and that's a big if, his no movement clause ends in 2027. So please don't quote me on that, though. But if I'm right, he can be moved out. He can be traded if our stars become stars and we want them to stay on the roster at center and we need to move out Monahan. It becomes a possibility. So you can't argue that we don't have center depth now, because we sure do. And I would even venture to say that this is the most center depth we have had since 2019. Maybe even ever. Now, I don't want to go that far just yet, but maybe even the most center depth that this team has ever had. And I see this as a good thing. Plus, all right, here's the thing that I am really looking forward to. It is no secret that Johnny Gaudreau really hasn't developed chemistry with a lot of players on this team in the 2 seasons that he's been here. All right, I mean, this is a guy who's in his career has finished in the top 10 in the league for scoring multiple occasions, I think. He comes to Columbus, and his production falls off a cliff for many reasons, all right? There's many reasons why we've seen Johnny Gaudreau's production decline drastically since he came over from Calgary. Having Monahan, someone Johnny has had chemistry with in the past, that is a darn good thing for this team. I'm excited to see if his production skyrockets this year. You know, reunited with Monahan, a guy that he's played with before, has had success with before. Slip of the tongue there. And with an improved winger like Marchenko or Chinnikov or someone else. Those guys are going to continue to improve, and you put him on a line with Johnny Gaudreau and Sean Monahan, and you might have something there. So I'm looking forward to see where that goes. So Monahan arrived, but we had to say goodbye to some other Blue Jackets from last season. The biggest surprise, in my opinion, was Adam Boqvist. The Jackets are just buying him out. So I'm not necessarily surprised the Jackets are choosing to move on from him. We need some changes on defense, and change has to start somewhere. I'm just surprised they couldn't find a trade partner for him. I mean, no one even wanted him for a draft pick. All right, this is a dude who played top pairing minutes with Zach Werenski, and nobody was interested in a trade for him. He went through waivers. No one wanted him without compensation. So now the team will buy him out, and he will be free to sign elsewhere. Jake Bean did not receive a qualifying offer as a restricted free agent, I should say. So he's gone. He went to Calgary to be with his dad. I forget what his dad does for Calgary's a pretty high position, president or something like that. So he gets to return, be with his family. I can't really knock him for that. So he goes to Calgary. I'm not really surprised with that move at all. I just thought that out of Provorov, Bean, and Boqvist, we'd see Boqvist back this year and Bean and Provorov gone. As it stands, Provorov will be part of the team's top 6 defense this season. Alex Nylander, gone. Did not receive a qualifying offer. Had we not made a GM change, I'm convinced he would have been back. All right, I'm actually surprised he did not receive, one of those 1-year prove-it contracts. But again, Waddell, he understands that changes need to be made. So this was another piece of the puzzle that he felt we did not need. Yeah, sure. He might have just caught lightning in a bottle last season. Sure, he might have had some good luck. Sure, he might have been on a heater, a short heater. But I really thought he'd be back. I really did. I liked what he brought to the lineup. And I was hoping he was having a bit of a resurgence and that he was going to revive his career with the Blue Jackets. And I could be wrong on this, but I think the only other time that has happened is with Sam Gagner. When he came over to the Blue Jackets, he revived his career. He started, racking up the points and showing that he was, and there was more to his game than what he had been showing. So I thought Alex Nylander was going to be in that same situation. But I guess the positive with that is Waddell has some pretty clear plans, a clear vision for this roster. So I guess I need to trust him, at least for right now. But I'm going to be really, really annoyed if Nylander goes to another team and lights it up. That is when I'm really going to be annoyed, because I didn't think it would hurt to bring back Nylander on a short, cheap contract that I bet he would have accepted, because I think he knew he still had to prove himself and he had a long way to go. So give him a cheap 1-year contract, let him prove himself, let him earn it. But again, Waddell had some other plans. Alexander Texier, gone. No more fire poker. as I totally figured he would be. I have to say, though, I am a bit surprised that the Jackets were able to swing a trade with the Blues, though. I mean, they got a draft pick for someone they had no intention of signing. So I call that a win. I know several people on Twitter disagree. They disagree with that sentiment, but I see it as a positive thing. You know, they either wanted Texier back or they wanted more for what the Jackets got. But Texier, in my opinion, was the most average NHL player there is. I mean, if you look up average NHL player in the dictionary, there's Alexander Texier. I did not see him as an essential piece moving forward. So I disagreed with a lot of those people on Twitter who thought Jackets could have gotten more or who were upset that Texier moved on. Brendan Gaunce was allowed to walk, signed with Minnesota, I believe. Doesn't really affect the big club, but Cleveland certainly took a hit losing their captain and one of their best players. Nick Blankenburg, have to say I'm sorry to see him go. He ended up signing with Nashville, did not get a qualifying offer with the Blue Jackets. I should clarify a bit. I think Nick Blankenburg was a good fit for the Jackets. I really do. He brought heart. He played 110% every night. I liked his attitude, and as a shorter guy myself, I liked that, you know, someone of his stature was able to make it in the NHL. It was really fun to watch him. He had a fearless attitude. He would never shy away from being physical with players who were much bigger than him. But unfortunately, that led to plenty of injuries because I just don't think his body was able to stay healthy with the style that he wanted to play. So I wish him the best of luck in Nashville. My brother is a big Predators fan, so I was telling him that, you know, he's really going to like Nick Blankenburg, really like what he brings to the lineup, if the guy can stay healthy. Lastly, Carson Meyer. He was not tendered a qualifying offer. Interesting with him, again, not really a loss for the big club, but that guy grew up in Ohio, played college hockey in Ohio for two different universities in Ohio, Miami and Ohio State, I believe. He played AHL hockey in Cleveland and NHL hockey in Columbus. So wherever he lands, it will be the first time he will be playing outside of Ohio. I just find that interesting. You don't see that very often. I mean, I can see, someone from, a state like Minnesota or, I don't know, New York, where there's just lots of different leagues and universities and options to play hockey. But for someone to spend, from his junior days all the way up to pro, always playing in Ohio, I just find that interesting. You just don't see that very often. All right, still no news on the Patrick Laine front. The feeling is that he will still be traded, but my understanding is that he is still in the player assistant program. He has not been clear yet. I'm having a difficult time with my words. He has not been cleared yet. It was expected that he would be cleared by this time, but he has not. So, of course, I wish the guy the best and hope that he has gotten the help he has needed and that he is almost ready to come out of the program. I totally understand all of that. Speaking from experience, as someone who has had a lot of mental health issues myself. But from a hockey perspective, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with Laine when he is finally cleared. I read one rumor that suggested Montreal Canadiens were very interested in him. But other than that, I haven't heard much else. I think whatever trade is made will be very telling for Don Waddell. What will he be able to pull off? What kind of value will he get in return? Will he pull off a miracle and find a team to take on Laine's entire contract? Or will the Jackets, most likely, be left paying at least a part of it? So, still no timetable to report, but I am anxiously awaiting this one, as I assume most of you Jackets fans are as well. The 2024-2025 NHL schedule has been released, and it has a few odd quirks for the Jackets that I wanted to mention. The team starts their season on October 10th in Minnesota. That game will take on a little bit more significance if Dean Evason happens to be named the Jackets head coach. Evason was previously the head coach of the Minnesota Wild, so that would be a little bit more of a interesting matchup. On October 12th, the Jackets head to Colorado. October 12th, I believe, is Sean Monahan's birthday. So they head to Colorado on October 12th, and then they have their home opener against the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers on October 15th. They start out playing 7 out of their first 10 games on the road. And I happen to think that is a good thing. It has been said that a lot of team bonding takes place on the road. So I see this as kind of a perfect scenario. Then, they bond, and then if they're able to string some wins together, maybe even go 5-5 or better in those first 10 games, then they can hopefully come back home to the comfort of Nationwide Arena, their home arena, and string even more wins together. The schedule also features 12 back-to-backs for the Blue Jackets. I am not a fan of this at all. And I'm not sure what the norm is here, for back-to-backs, but playing approximately 1/4 of your season schedule as part of a back-to-back situation, I think that's kind of crappy. It seems excessive to me. For any team, okay? Not just the Blue Jackets. But I will say one more thing about that, all right? Someone posted some kind of analysis of all the team schedule with regard to playing against other teams, rested versus not rested. And the Jackets were certainly not one of the teams listed as having one of the largest rest disadvantages. So maybe it's not as big of a deal as I think, but I still think playing 1/4 of your season approximately as back-to-back games, I think that's excessive. There are also 16 games in December. 16 games. So that's more than every other night on average that the Jackets have a game that month. That's a lot of games. And that's with 3 days off at Christmas, the 24th through the 26th. Not a fan at all, especially during a crucial month. But then again, okay, which month of a schedule is not crucial, okay? So maybe I take that back. But still, way too many games for a month. And finally, no Sunday home games at all. I find this very, very surprising. Usually the Jackets have matinee games, early games on Sundays that families go to, and I thought that was a great thing. But for whatever reason, no Sunday home games this season coming up. Very odd to me. And it makes me wonder, do the Jackets have a say in that at all? And if so, why didn't they want Sunday matinees as an attractive option for families? And if they don't have a say, why didn't the league give them any? It just seems like something that's standard. You have some Saturday home games, you have some Sunday home games. It just doesn't make much sense to me. But what do I know? There could be all kinds of, factors that tie in that we don't know about. And speaking of Sunday games, in fact, there are only 3 Sunday games for the Jackets all away this coming season. So 3 Sunday games the entire season. I just find that very strange. If it was a coincidence, very strange coincidence. All right. Lastly, it was announced that Steve Mears would be taking over for Jeff Rimmer as the TV play-by-play announcer for the Blue Jackets this season. I admit, I'd never heard of him before. Probably because he was the announcer for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Blah. So I'd never heard him actually announce before. Other than Rimmer and McElligott, the only announcers I had the opportunity to hear were the ones doing the national broadcast games. But I did look up some of Mears' work on YouTube. Not bad, not groundbreaking. Didn't blow me away. But it was fine. He will be an acceptable replacement for Jeff Rimmer. It is no secret that I was never a big Rimmer fan. Okay, I liked his voice and everything. I just felt he was past his shelf life. Too many errors and lapses in focus for such a fast-moving sport. So I'm happy to see some new blood in the booth. I'm also happy, I'm not trying to be mean here, that the Jackets chose not to go with Bob McElligott. I've said this before, nothing against him as a person. I just didn't care for the way he calls hockey games. I don't care for his style. And I know a lot of fans disagree with me on that, and that's totally fine. That's your opinion. But this is my opinion. Personally, I am happy that they decided to go a different route. So welcome, Steve. I know he's a Bowling Green alumni, so he has some ties to the state. And he even said that he brought a ticket stub that he kept from his very first Blue Jackets game that he attended in 2000 that he brought with him to his interview for good luck. So that's pretty cool. I just think that's pretty cool in general that the Jackets have a new GM, a new head coach coming, and a new announcer. Kind of an all-around new look for the organization. I have to say, I can't help but feel a sense of optimism with all these changes and new direction for the club. You can call me crazy if you want, but it's been a while since I felt such a sense of optimism with the Blue Jackets. Are we finally on the upswing? I'm looking forward to this season to find out. I'm going to finish this episode with some non-Blue Jackets news, some non-Blue Jackets hockey news. Something I've talked about a lot in recent episodes because the whole situation has fascinated me, and that is the situation with the new Utah NHL team. Still no name. But one of the execs, and I can't remember which one, maybe Armstrong, I'm not sure. He was giving an interview about a prospect, and he said something like, "We are glad to have him as a Utah Yeti." Then he kind of walked back that statement, I think when he realized what he had just said. And he said something like, "That seems like the name the kids want, but I have no say in it," or something like that. So he was saying it, or I should say, he wasn't saying it, but he was saying it. All right, that was the team name. And I predicted from the start that they would be called the Utah Yeti. And this comes close to confirming that is what it's going to be. Still not super pleased with that name, though. Mostly because of the same problem I have with the Kraken. Okay, Kraken is singular. There's only one of them. There's only one Kraken monster. Like I've said before, you would never call a team the Godzilla. You would never call a team the King Kong. And that's basically what the Kraken did. We're a team, but we're one sea creature. Go ahead and Google Yeti. You will find it says the legendary creature. It doesn't say a legendary creature. Yeti is singular. It refers to the abominable snowman. This is like calling the team the Utah Bigfoot. There's only one Bigfoot. Excuse me. Now, if they throw an S on the end of it and make it Yetis, I'm a little more okay with it. Because then it refers to potentially multiple creatures. And I don't know, maybe the plural of Yeti is Yeti without the S. I don't know, but it doesn't seem that way based on what I found on Google. But I'm just not on board with this trend of naming teams. It's like teams are trying their hardest to avoid coming up with a name that ends with the letter S. And I admit, I'm a little bit of a traditionalist. But I also love the names Lightning, Tampa Bay Lightning, and Orlando Magic. I love that name. And Columbus Crew, I even like that name. So there are non-S ending names that I do like. I just do not like the Kraken. I do not like the Wild. And I do not like the idea of Yeti. I'm sure most of you listening as Columbus Blue Jackets fans know that the name Blue Jackets was actually one of two finalists. The other name, the Justice. The Columbus Justice. That is one of the stupidest name ideas I have ever heard, and I am so glad someone came to their senses and decided not to go with that. I would hate to say that I am a Columbus Justice fan. So dumb. In the words of Shorzy, so dumb. And the last thing about the Utah situation, actually more of the Arizona situation, is that the owner of the Coyotes is pretty much done. He's absolving the team. You know, it was said that he would be hopefully bringing a team back to Arizona within 5 years if he could get an arena built. But nope, that's not going to happen. Kind of makes me think this guy was just being, what's the word, non-genuine, disgenuine, not genuine all along. The league paid him $1 billion for the team, and if he brought back a team, it would be an expansion team, so he would have to pay that expansion fee. Now he doesn't have to. Now he's just going to keep the money. So there's a whole bunch of other factors involved in the situation that I'm not going to go into, but my question is now, with this guy out of the way, how hard is the NHL going to fight to bring back a team to Arizona? Because the way they fought for the Coyotes, they fought hard in the past, decade or two to keep them in Arizona. I mean, for goodness sake, look, they played in a 5,000-seat arena for 2 years. I mean, they wanted this team in Arizona. I have not looked up the stats in a long time, but at one point I looked it up, and the Phoenix area was the fifth largest city in terms of population in the United States. So that's a pretty significant area to have a team in. So I can see why the NHL wanted to keep a team there so bad. So now it's like they have a clean slate. This owner's out of the way. So now I guess it comes down to, is there going to be another owner that steps up? Maybe one that maybe that knows what they're doing in terms of finding an arena to build. But see, that's another thing. That's another thing that I have to mention here. So you have, in the Phoenix area, you have the arena that the Phoenix Suns play. You have the one in Glendale where the Coyotes used to play. And I'm not sure of any others, but now you're going to build another arena in the Phoenix area. Now, I admit I don't know a lot about Phoenix. I don't know how far apart things are, but maybe it's fine. But I would think that could play a factor. The fact that there's already 2 NHL-size arenas in the Phoenix area already there that cannot have a team or will not have a team. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure where they go, but I don't know. My gut tells me the NHL is kind of salivating now. This guy's out of the way. We got to get a team back to Arizona. So we'll see. We'll revisit this in about 5 years, and we'll see if there's a team there or not. We'll see if there's an arena being built. We'll see what happens. All right, my rambling's over. Thanks for listening, everyone. Not sure when my next episode will be, but I assume it will be after the Jackets have a new coach, and maybe after Laine has been traded, assuming that he is going to be traded. And, if there are any other newsworthy trades or free agent signings, then I'll pop back on and record an episode, if and when that happens. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, send them my way, please. Find me on Twitter or Instagram. Just search for Whaler Jacket. I think I'm the only one out there with that name, and you will find me. Until next time, my friends, take care. Happy 4th of July, and go Jackets.